I want to talk a little bit about timelines today. I don't see timelines. I just sense there are shifts in energy and there is an invitation to go with the other energies. They may be more expanded, maybe more joyful, maybe less fearful. And it became clear many years ago, actually, maybe 10 years ago, where I felt like I had kind of moved to another timeline is a funny word, but a different state of consciousness, maybe that didn't quite match what other people were living. And in the early days, you just wonder what it is, if you're making it up. But then luckily, I started meeting others who also experienced that. And it became very clear that the new energies are very available to us. And it was just up to us to receive them or to move into them, go along with them. And then was that in 2020 at the early days of the lockdowns? Then it became really clear that I was just completely, I was like complete with the old timeline of fear and um, blaming and scare practices. A lot of the things that were happening in the early days that a lot of people were pulled in by and were very, very afraid and basically complied to all the authorities because they thought that that would be the safe option. And a lot of my friends were going along with it, and I just felt like there was no truth in it. And for me, it's a feeling. Now, of course, in the early days, I got a lot of judgments and other strange stuff projected onto me. And I really had to just be with that because what I knew and felt inside was so much more real than what was going on the outside. And I was also very lucky that I had a lot of my friends that we were on that same frequency. We had entered that same timeline and we could communicate and we didn't feel alone in it. And that was amazing because it was kind of what I realized that it was normalized by having my other high frequency friends, if I can say it that way. It's not to say that people who are high frequency or who are not seeing it are not high frequency. I'm not saying that at all. But there seemed to be, a tribe of my community. We were just on the same frequency on all these things. And it was absolutely wonderful. And it has just kept deepening and expanding. And as I have shared with you also, I keep meeting others who are experiencing similar things as I am. I'm not somebody who has these big bang experiences, spiritual, geometry, all these things, sacred geometry. I don't have that doesn't happen in my system. I just kind of sense it, know it without really knowing it, but it's very solid. So here we are, and I have been feeling a lot of, really expansion happening again for a while, which I've talked about. And I want to just put it out. If you are also feeling that, things are expanding, the old does not make sense. You may be completely entangled in it still, and you may not have any clue about how to get out of it, but you feel something, you know that this is not true anymore. We have lived in that timeline for a long, long time of separation and limitation and lack and struggle and pain and anger and blame and all that stuff. That timeline I feel very, very complete with. And you may also. But are you able to fully step out of it and let yourself enter this other timeline? And I want to also just say there are many, many timelines. I'm sure I don't see them. I sense just that there is a new energy, a new timeline available for us. And if we enter on that, then there is a flow of fulfillment, there is an ease, there is expansion, because it is right here in front of our face. Cannot see it necessarily. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is spread all over the earth, and man cannot see it. That is probably still true, although there are many of us who are really beginning to sense it. So we may not see it, but we can sense it. And that I talk about as a sense of longing for something better, for something more loving, more peace-filled, joyful, all the things that I know we all long for. And that is because the kingdom of heaven, heaven on earth, is here, and it is simply becoming more available. It's expanding more. It is, yeah, available is probably the right word. So we can start sensing it. It's like, yeah, there's something different here. And one of the reasons you might feel it is, I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. And yet everything in me is still completely tied up into it. It's a problem in the beginning. I get that, because we don't know how not to do something that our whole body has been wired to do for a very, very long time. A whole, a whole brain, a whole all our neurons are wired for that. So we go there by default. But now we're feeling this new timeline, this new energy. We're sensing the kingdom of heaven here. And it's nothing like that, is it? It's so different. So I want to really invite you and encourage you to take this very seriously, with a joyful attitude. It's like, yes, it is here and it is available to us. It's basically right here. It always has been, right? But it seems like the veil has been thinning a lot. So now we can maybe make a little tear in the veil so we can kind of sense it more, whatever. It's just a metaphor. It's here. And now we are asked to enter it, to take that step, to start leaving the old. And that can be a process, not necessarily the physical, but it's the emotional attachment and entanglement that we still have in the old. And that is what keeps us there. That's why all of our energy is there. And now we're trying to fight to get out of it. But as long as the energy goes there, we are still feeding it. It's a really powerful when you get that, because then you'll go like, I don't want to do that anymore. And it comes with a resolve, and it's powerful. There's power in that resolve. And then you start moving over, and it's kind of moving here in a way to feel what you do want. I don't want that. But don't just stay there. Go here and feel what is more available now. And that is something that you feel in here. And if you can extend some self-love and say, yeah, I certainly want that for myself. And really feel it. And that might be also part of the work we all need to do, to start feeling the possibility that life is going to be easy and beautiful and connected and loving, because that is what we want. And be sure there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of barriers, that we have built against it, like Rumi says. Those are the ones we have to unhook from. But if you can make that commitment to yourself and say, I don't want this anymore. I want to move into the new, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it is, but I can feel there is something better. That in itself, that's enough. It is enough. But you have to stay in that. That's the trick. You don't need to start, knowing a whole lot and how to do it. You need to stay with that feeling that you're done with that and you want something better, if you can just even now take a moment and just let yourself feel like, yeah, there is something better. It cannot be true that that way that we've lived, that is the only way, that is the way. There is something better. You can feel it because you long for it. Just stay there. You don't need to know a lot, because just by going there, you are shifting into the new timeline or the new frequency. By saying yes to it. Might be a little yes. It's enough. You start transferring your energy into the new timeline, into the, the higher frequency wave. And you do that little by little, or a lot at a time, if it depends on your situation. That is enough. And it will always be enough. You will have access to more to transfer as you do this, because just by transferring a drop into the new wave, you will have the energy of the whole wave behind you. And then that little energy, that little drop, it's almost like it's going to grow. And then you have more power to pull the other drops over. So if this is helpful to you, you might just have one drop that you can go like, yeah, I really want this. But stay there. Please stay there. And that is the hard work, because we are used to staying there, right? By default, automatically, without questioning it. But start questioning it. It's like, is that what I want? Is that really how it is supposed to be? Is that how God's heaven on earth is? Right? Everybody suffering and living in struggle and in lack and in limitation. Of course it is not. The divine flow is here in you, as you. It's not separate from you. The separation happens when we leave it, or we pretend we can leave. We can't really, but we live a life as if we have, and that's how all of us have lived. So now the invitation is to come back to this timeline, to this flow that is available. I think that's all I want to say for now. And I just really want to invite you to take this very seriously, not in a somber way, but in a, like, this is important. This is really important, because if you want to join this new wave coming into manifestation now, becoming more visible as heaven on earth, then you need to be there. One drop is enough, but you have to keep coming back and you have to stay there.